I do think that they're going to hike by 10 basis points. Inflation's comfortably above their target of 2%. I know that Ueda is worried about the fact that inflation expectations are still seem to be anchored below 2%. But what he has in his favour here is the fact that we're starting to see more of a virtuous cycle with wages. The latest Shunto negotiations have meant that the wages are well above 2%. So that should help feed into consumer expectations. And when we look at forward-looking indicators, things like surveys of small businesses, of price inputs, those all indicate that inflation continues to increase. But I mean, you're absolutely right that the economy certainly isn't overheating, so there's no real need to do it, but there's political pressure. The demographics in Japan mean that the older generations want less inflation. They prefer to earn more in their savings. So we've had two senior politicians come out and put him under pressure. Now, he's independent, but nobody's ever that independent. So I think the direction is that we do get that hike.
Okay, so you see them going plus 10 basis points. They get that.
Yeah.
What about on taper, JGB buying, right? And I want to set us up here by, again, drawing viewers' attention to the fact that their benchmark, it's below 100 basis points right now, Gordon.
Yeah, so I think that they have to take that down. I mean, last week, I think market consensus was it had to fall from 6 trillion to 5 trillion. But for me, I'd assume that they'd go to at least 4, if not 3.
Gordon, I want to just pick up, because obviously there's still so much we're waiting on, but say we do get the hike and say that the Fed does signal that we could get that September rate cut and potentially another one down the road. What that means in terms of the interest rate differential compression between, the US and Japan, because I'm just wondering, are we going to see more of this carry trade unwind? And what are the implications there for global markets?
Yeah, so I certainly think that we should be seeing more convergence in terms of those rates. The economic fundamentals are closer than they've ever been between the US and Japan in terms of the differential in average wages is at its tightest level, whereas the differential in base rates is at its widest. Nonetheless, it was mentioned earlier, buy the rumour and sell the fact. I think even as we'll see more of the taper and my expectation is we'll get the hike, it'll still be surrounded by very dovish language. Ueda's going to speak in an academic way. There's going to be a lot of caveats. The market, which is used to talking more decisively, will take that as being dovish. Now, I do think that the Fed will give us the appropriate hints that we're going to get that cut in September. But really all it can do is disappoint. There's a lot of dovishness out there. So the scope actually for us to have the things that we're talking about here, but the yen to stay fairly flat, I think it's quite possible. In terms of the carry trade, the fact is even if we move 10 basis points, there's still such a huge difference between like 2-year swaps in Japan and emerging markets. I think that carry trade does continue. It's merely pausing here.